get started with our event shortly. Please enjoy. All right, everybody. Okay, just a moment and we will get started. Sorry for the delay. And we will be recording now. Thank you. Thank you for waiting, everybody.
There are many elements that make up life, from a seed to a tree, from a spark to a flame, from a drop to an ocean, or from a breeze to a storm. The world is filled with elements that change who we are and what we do. One of the most important elements is spirit. Spirit unlocks our mind. It gives us hope, love, understanding, and the knowledge that we're never far away from those that we've lost. How can these elements unlock your mind and unlock your connection with the other side? Join us today as we bring in elements of spirit.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Elements of Spirit. We're all truly excited to have all of you here this evening, this morning, or this afternoon, wherever it shall be where you are. We want you to realize that spirit is all around us, whether it be the whisper on the breeze, the patterns found in nature, the ebb or flow of the tide, or the fiery passions within your own soul. Spirit is always with us, echoing the patterns of nature into our soul, our lives, and our daily routines. The awe and power of nature and spirit are represented in each step, in each word, in each expression of your soul that you share with this wonderful world and everyone within it. When spirit manifests in nature, be it in a warm summer breeze that recalls a memory of summers past, or the flow of a mountain stream between your toes as you share a special moment, or the sensation of warmth from the sun, or a campfire as you lay or sit on the grounding earth. Spirit will use the power of nature to recall some of your most treasured memories. So my name is David Siska, and I'll be your host this evening. It is my pleasure now to hand it over to Bree, who will open our session with a beautiful prayer.
Thank you, David. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It's so nice to see all of your faces here. All right. If you feel comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes or leave them open, and we'll take a moment to join in prayer. Great Spirit, you that is known by many names and exists within all things. We take a moment here together to honor that spark of truth that is within each of us. The light that cannot be dimmed, no matter where we go or what we do. We gather here in celebration, in the knowing that those that have passed remain very much alive in their own light and in our own hearts. We give thanks that we may come together to feel our loved ones in spirit, and to honor our knowing that life is indeed eternal and that there are opportunities abound far beyond our wildest dreams. And while we give thanks for the joyful memories, we also hear your call to stay present, for that is where our spark of light, our spark of truth, shines brightest. To those in spirit, thank you for gathering here with us today. Your presence touches each of us differently, and we appreciate dearly each moment with you. We honor each of you and thank you for your presence and for bringing us all together so that we may celebrate your love. Amen.
Thank you, Bree, for that beautiful prayer, the beautiful light of the soul. Now, I'd like to hand it over to Chelsea for an inspirational speech.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's a Monday, and that's not always easy for everybody, but look at all of you who have made it a time in your day to share this wonderful opportunity for us to present today. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here, and thank you to Spirit for being here as well. The title of our presentation today is Elements of Spirit, and that's an unusual title. What does that really mean? What are elements of spirit? When we go out walking in the day, when we open the door or walk outside, we see the elements that are around us. We see the sky and we see the wind, we see the earth, we see the flowers and the trees, and we feel the rain and we feel the water on our hands when we wash our hands, different things. We see all of these elements around us that are tangible, that we can touch, that we can see. But what is an element of spirit? That is always a big question. When we look for things, they're not always in front of us. Sometimes those elements are hidden before our eyes. The other day when I went into the kitchen to get something to cook, I opened the drawer and I looked for the measuring cups. I looked and I looked, and I know they were there because I put them there and I could not find them. And I was very frustrated because I thought, where did I put these? Did somebody come take them? Why would they take them? I could not see that they were there. I had to call my husband over and I said, did you take the measuring cups? And he opens the drawer and he pulls them out and they're right there. I couldn't see it. It was hidden right before my eyes. And there are many things that are like that. I love science and I love studying science. In science, they have discovered that everything around us is energy. For example, when you put your hand up in front of your face, what do you see? You see your hand. You see skin and bone and the lines on your hands and the fact that you need lotion or that you've got a bad manicure. Whatever you see in front of you, that is tangible. That is something that you see. You feel yourself sitting in a chair. You feel your back against the back of the chair or the side of your arms on the sides of the chair. But is that really you? And is that really the chair? If you look at things in the very smallest aspect, there are energy particles that are in between all of those things. In between all of the pores of our skin, there is energy that's pushing and pulling. When we wash our hands and the water touches our hands, there is energy between the water that is touching our hands and our skin, pushing and pulling, that energy that's always moving, that's running through all things. When we're sitting in a chair, we think we're sitting in a chair, but there's actually energy that's underneath us, that's around us, that's everywhere. We think we're solid. We think that we are walking and talking and these bags of humans that are just sitting there doing menial tasks or important tasks or whatever tasks we do every day. But we're just energy that's flowing back and forth in this universe, put together. And the perception, the filter that we have on our own eye is what we see. We see that. One of my favorite movies is called Houseboat. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's a charming film. It's about a father who has been estranged from his wife, and his wife dies, and then he has to take up these children of his and raise them. They end up on a houseboat and they have to acclimate to each other. As he's talking to his youngest son, the father notices how sad his son is as his feet are hanging off the end of the boat into the water. And he asks, "What's wrong?" And he says, "My mother's dead. She's gone and I'll never see her again." And he says, "How do you know you'll never see your mother again?" And then the son says to the father, "When you're dead and you're gone and there's nothing more there." The father sees a pitcher of water. He grabs it and he hands it to his son and he says, "Why don't you take this water and I want you to get rid of it completely." The son looks at the water and he says, "That's easy." And he dumps the pitcher of water into the lake and he says, "There it is. It's done. It's gone. It's over." But the father says, "Is the water really gone? Or has the water just changed into something else?" The son says, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "The water in the pitcher is gone. The vessel is gone, but the water is still in the lake. What happens to the water in the lake? The fish drink the water. The trees on the banks drink the water. The elements in the sky, the clouds, will take that evaporated water, it will put it into clouds, it will take it to another area and it will rain, and that rain will come down. So the water never really changes. The water just transfers energy from one place to the other, and that through line is always there." As a child, I grew up in the mountains. There were canyons and beautiful things around me all the time. But one of my family's favorite places was an aspen grove far on the top of one of these mountains. I don't know if any of you have ever had the opportunity to listen to aspen trees in a grove as the wind blows through the leaves. The song that it makes is one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard. It sounds like the world is telling you to shh, so that you can listen, so that you can refocus. As my family purchased a new house, they wanted to take part of that beautiful grove with them. So they decided to go and take a few of the sprouts that were coming up from this aspen grove and put them in our yard. So we drove up, we uncovered the roots of one of the aspen trees, only to find that that aspen tree was connected to another aspen tree. And so we dug that tree up, and then it was connected to another one. Well, finally, we just had to cut the trees off of this large root system and then take them home and plant them. You see, aspen trees aren't just a grove of multiple trees. Aspens are amazing because they are one tree, one root system with many different shoots coming out of it that look like trees. To us, we see trees. To the aspen, they see one group that is all together, all connected. I believe that's how we are, and that's how spirit is. One more quick story. My adopted son lost his mother when he was 10. He was very confused and has a hard time grieving and realizing that she's still there and that there is somebody that still cares and still speaks with him. And we've had many discussions about this because I look at things differently than he looks at things. We were driving in the car and we were speaking about his mother, which we frequently do. And as we were speaking, he just happened to notice that there were 3 cars that were her exact car, the exact color, the exact model. But then he says, "They're just cars. It's not like anybody's giving me a message." And then as we were driving along, we were talking more about his mother and how her favorite things were peace signs and skulls and owls. And as we would go to different stoplights, we'd see an owl. We would see a peace sign, whether it was on the side of a van or a billboard. We would see these different symbols. But he kept saying, there's no way that somebody can leave me a message and can let me know that they're dead. That's just not something that happens. And so, being a teenager, he's always hungry. We drove into a drive-through. And as we were having this discussion, and he was explaining to me how there is not a way that people can give us messages from the other side. We looked at the car in front of us. It happened to be another one of the cars that was the exact make and the exact model that his mother would drive. It was the exact year. And on the back of it were 3 bumper stickers, a peace sign, an owl, and a skull, all letting him know that his mother's always there and that her energy, although it's not here, she's left her body, she's left her vessel. She is still there and she still cares. And she still wants to send those messages to him. Just as we are all energy, in order for scientists to see this energy, they have to look through a specialized microscope. For us to see the aspen trees, we need to look at it from a different view. As the microscope looks and sees the energy through a different view, if we change our own perspective and we focus on things differently, we can see those little miracles, those things that are hidden before our eyes, those elements of spirit that are in plain sight every single day. And I invite all of you to do that because we all have that ability. We all have that power. We simply have to refocus our lens and see things from a different aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea, for the beautiful inspirational speech on the transformational properties of the elements and energy. Wonderful, truly inspiring. Now, at this point in our demonstration, we're going to go on to our mediumship, okay? So now I'm going to go over a few ground rules on how to interact, okay? So as we demonstrate and blend with spirit, we would describe what we see, feel, hear, maybe even taste. Just remember that you need to take about 90 to 95% of the information as the sitter. Do not try to make the information fit. Do not, for example, make a mother or a sister a grandmother, okay? If the information fits and if you recognize the spirit person has stepped forward, we ask you that you raise your hand or the hand in Zoom and unmute yourself to communicate with the medium to validate the information, okay? And we ask that your responses be yes, no, or I don't know. Don't lead the medium, okay? So at this point in our event, I would love to introduce Carol Mauro from Rio Verde, Arizona. She is a psychic medium, an angel intuitive, shamanic practitioner, teacher, Reiki master, and a licensed massage therapist. Carol has connected with angels and spirits since childhood, developing and deepening those connections over the years through studies with shaman and spiritual teachers across the globe, her own spiritual experiences, and through guidance from her team of spirit guides and angels. Carol's fiery passion is helping others in their healing and journey through readings and shamanic Reiki or bodywork sessions. Thank you, Carol. I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you, David, for your nice introduction. And Chelsea, I so enjoyed your spiritual message. It really resonated with me, as I'm sure it did with all of you. And just so blessed to see all of you here today. And I am going to blend with spirit, and my intention is to bring in several contacts for one or several of you. And as David instructed, let us know if you're resonating with this information. So let me turn my attention. I'm so excited. I hope you are too. Get your excitement up. This is fun, and spirit world really wants to come in and blend, and I can feel large crowd of spirit people in the virtual waiting room, just like many of you waited in the Zoom waiting room. So I'm turning my attention now to the spirit world. And as I do, and I feel many here, but the first one I'm sensing is a baby girl. And this baby girl is being cared for in the spirit world by somebody that is like a grandmother to her. And she gives me the feeling that a grandmother of hers may be in this group. A feeling that she didn't quite make it to 3 years old. So that's pretty specific information. I'm just going to pause and see if anybody can resonate with this little baby girl. And David, you're going to scan the crowd for me and see who's waving their hands.
Anyone recognizes this child? Please
Oh,
unmute.
I see Sherry.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, let me
I'll
work
say
with.
yes to everything you just said, Carol.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sherry. Well, may I work with you?
Yes, please.
Okay. This little baby girl, she's before her passing, as she was younger, I see a happy, giggling, smiling baby, the normal fussiness, but not one that was overly fussy or distraught, but one that loved her giggles, loved her cuddles, and would have had a special stuffed animal. I can't quite see yet what that animal is, but you understand that, don't you, Sherry?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
And a feeling that you might have given her that, you or your husband. I feel like
Yes.
you or your husband.
Yes.
Okay, great. Oh, she's delightful. Before she gives me more evidence, she wants you to know she's very cared for in heaven, not only by another woman that is like a grandmother to her, but also she says you'd be aware that she's with the angels, that you have that belief.
Yes.
Okay, good. She's showing me blue blocks, specifically the color blue. I see blocks on the floor, but blue. You understand this significance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
This is interesting because she gives me the impression too that she had 2 other siblings. Do you understand? You would understand. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
But a feeling that there's a potential. Now, I don't predict future, but a potential of another one to be on the way.
I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah, and that's just the feeling she gave me. So tuck that away, because that would be interesting if that would come. She did say potential, because we know the future is potential. She says, she's giving me the impression too that you identify her sometimes with animals.
Yes.
I see a cardinal, but I also see a bluebird. You understand a bluebird?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, good. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to these signs from our physical world. She also shows when she was younger and couldn't toddle or walk very well in her stroller, and I feel like it's you taking her out through a little gate and out for a walk around the block and to a park. You understand this little journey she took me on. I feel like we went through some kind of gate, whether it was your own yard or going to a park and you had to open a gate and go through. So she's suggesting that as a little journey she did with you. And that wasn't just one time, Sherry, that you and let go of the gate. If that doesn't make sense, that could just be.
Yeah.
But that this was like a daily occurrence, unless it was 4 feet of snow. Now I'm exaggerating, but that
Yes.
she said you believed in taking her outdoors.
Yes.
And the sunshine that she says you spent more time with her than her own mother. You understand her giving me that impression?
Well, more quality time, definitely.
Okay, more quality time. All right.
Mm.
She says it's interesting because she doesn't really want to dwell on her demise, but it was, she says it was a journey to her death, and there was a lot of confusion about it. She gives me a sense of confusion and a lot of frustration on your part, and a lot of doctor's appointments. She's giving me that impression. You would understand that. Okay. And
Exactly.
that really, Sherry, she gives me the strong feeling in the heart that you did everything you could do. Your husband, she says, I don't know if she called him grandpa or papa. She couldn't quite say grandpa, but I feel like a papa. You
Exactly,
understand?
Papa.
Okay, papa. And she says he would tickle her and giggle and laugh and read books to her. You understand her?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So he was also very involved in her care.
Yes.
And please, 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 I'm sensing from her, let go of any of the guilt and anger, because that only holds you back. She says nothing could have been changed. I am blessed to be here with the angels and to watch over you as your own heavenly angel. She also gives me the feeling that this happened about 3-4 years ago, her death. You understand that? Okay, within that, it's a more recent, wasn't a long time ago. And she communicates, I'll wrap up this particular link with her communication, that she flies with you when you fly. And that she finds you burning the candle at both ends in what you're doing right now, but she's so happy to be able to share the love with you. And that's the most important thing, Sherry.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
Oh, one last thing. She says, make sure you look up at the Big Dipper and the stars, because you'll see her there too. So I don't know what that significance is.
Oh, it's very significant.
Okay. Well, good. Yay. She's so sweet. It's like I want to cuddle her.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Sharon. Thank you for being here. So, David, do I have time to connect with another contact?
Sure, if you feel it. Yep.
Oh, okay. Let me see who else I can blend with. And I appreciate all your patience, everyone, in supporting whoever comes through. So as I blend again with another person from the spirit world, I sense a man who is kind of straight up and down, a little bit of whiskers, not a beard, but just like I hadn't shaved for a day or so. And sometimes I would have worn overalls. I do feel a Midwest connection with this gentleman, like the 4 seasons living in the Midwest. He's giving me the words heartland, living in the heartland, or the breadbasket. And I'll give one more piece of information and see who this might be for. I feel like I lived out in the country more so, not in a big city, because I see rolling hills and farmland and so on. So I'm going to pause and see if that's enough information for somebody to recognize or connect with. And David's going to help scan. I see Kim. Anybody else? You see anybody else, David?
If anyone recognizes this person, please unmute yourself.
Or raise your hand or wave.
I can take pretty much of it. Carol, Becky.
Who's speaking here? Becky?
Becky Windenwood.
And Becky and Kim. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. So you understand, again, this gentleman, straight up and down, tall, whiskery, would have worn overalls and lived in the country. And the Four Seasons and Midwest Heartland. Okay. This man, I like him. He has a grin on his face, but yet I could be sometimes a hair sarcastic or witty at the same time. I know I had a good work ethic. I was a hard worker, and he shows me his hands with calluses and fairly big hands. Like I wasn't afraid to get them dirty and work hard. So one of you would understand this about him, correct?
Yes.
Okay, both of you still do. Okay. Well, let's keep going. Who knows? Maybe both are here, but I'll try to delineate who it is. He gives me the impression that he would have had it gives me John Deere, like riding mower, tractor, something of that. It's a green. One of you would understand that with him.
I'm not sure of the make.
But you understand a big riding mower tractor around this gentleman.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Both of you still? Am I with both?
I just, I don't know.
How about you, Becky?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see if you can give me something specific so I can be drawn to one of you. So feeling that that's where I spent my time was caring for the land. I feel like I had outbuildings, a tool shed. I was good at fixing the equipment. I didn't have to take it somewhere to be fixed or call a service person. I could fix and tinker with the tractor or the truck. And I did have a pickup truck too. So I'm going to pause there and see which of you can take this.
Yes, I can take all of that.
Okay, Becky. How about you, Kim?
I'm not sure, but I think I'm out on the tinkering and fixing stuff.
Thank you, Kim, for hanging in there with us. I do feel I'm with Becky. And I don't know, Becky just moved around on my screen. So hopefully you're still here. Is she, David?
I'm still here.
Oh, there you are. You just shifted from one end of my screen to the other. This man, he has a warmth to him, but sometimes people didn't always see that in him as I feel into his personality. I'm a real family man, though. He gives me that impression. So you would understand that too, Becky, right?
Yes.
And he gives me feeling of sometimes having a real house full of people, almost like, big Sunday noon meal with lots of people there, and that he enjoyed those moments of family and or close friends coming together for a meal. You understand this about him?
Yes.
Although he wasn't the one cooking. I feel like he was married. He's showing me a ring on his finger. You understand that?
I don't know if he had a ring, but he was married. Yes.
He was married. Okay. Well, that's their symbol, Becky. They give me that they're married. And I feel like it was a long-term marriage, not a short marriage, and that there were children. You understand there were children.
Yes.
And I don't, feeling that it was more traditional. The wife did the cooking. I tended the property, did the work outdoors. It was those more traditional roles. And you understand that too, Becky?
Yes.
Good. It's interesting because he said he didn't really travel a lot. He was always working. You understand him giving me that, correct?
They traveled a little.
Okay. It just feels like, some people travel a lot, that he was more, they together, he's correcting me, says they were more stay-at-home people. Yes, there would have been some travel, and that feels like as we got older and the children had grown up, we were able to get away more. But really, we enjoyed being home and being in community. And I feel too like I was that type of person. People from the surrounding little area community could come to me for help with something or advice. How do you fix this? Can you help me with that? He seemed pretty willing to help people that way. And you understand that, right, Becky?
Yes.
Yeah. He points at you and says, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You understand him saying that? Because that's the impression I get from him.
Yeah, I can understand that, him saying that.
And even though I'm not absolutely sure on relationship, I'm just going to say he feels grandfatherly. You understand that feeling of him being a grandfather.
He is a grandfather, but not mine.
Not yours. He didn't say yours. He just gave me that feeling of grandfatherly and being a grandfather. And I enjoyed the kids. I would actually, he shows me an image of a child riding with him on the big riding mower, the tractor, that he tried to include kids in fun activities. You understand that too?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me wrap it up because we have 3 other mediums to also present here. And as much as I would love to keep chatting with him, let me see if he has any couple more things. He gives me the feeling that he knew you and watched you grow up and has watched you turn into the woman you are. So you understand him knowing you from birth until he passed. You understand that?
No.
No, okay. I misinterpreted him. Well, let me see what else he might give us then. Interesting. You understand he's a family member, but it almost feels like it could be by marriage rather than direct. You understand this, Becky?
Yes.
Okay, good. More like an in-law rather than a direct father, grandfather, so on. You understand that?
Yes.
And that he's tapping here. He's going to finish with one last thing. I feel like I had heart and chest issues before I passed.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I love this gentleman. He's warm. He's caring, a little witty and a little sarcasm there, but really a genuine man is the best way I can describe him. And I do feel a bond with you, but also a bond with a male that's connected with you. And you understand that too.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave you with his love and blessings. Like I said, I feel like he could keep talking and carry on some stories, but he knows there's other people waiting to come in. So let's give him lots of blessings and thank the 2 spirit people who have come in through me today. I really am honored and blessed to be able to do this for them and for you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was lovely.
You're welcome, Becky. Thank you for taking them.
Thank you, Carol, for those beautiful messages and the inspiration from Spirit. Well done. So now we're going to move on to Bree. Bree Sayer is a medium joining us from Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. She spends much time with the earth every day, particularly on her farm, with her hands in the dirt, growing organic food and herbs. Whenever you're ready, Bree.
Thank you, David. So great to be here and to see all of you. I'll just take a moment and connect and see who's going to come through for a visit here today. All right, the first person I'm aware of is an older woman. She lived to a nice age, and there's a real caringness and a lovingness within her personality. I feel like she was the kind of person that really knew how to make people feel special when she was with them. She smiled really, really easily. As she got older, she slowed down a lot, and she used to be quite active when she was younger. But she's showing me she's getting older, and she's showing that someone here would help her get to a seat and get to a couch and put a blanket on her and help make her cozy. She's also making me aware that she loved to drink tea. And so the person here would also be aware of making tea for her as she got older. This does feel to me like this would be somebody's mother who is here. Does this make sense to anybody so far? Okay. I will keep going with her. And sorry, that might have been a bit too vague. When she, in her younger years, she did a lot of work for other people. So she was involved in volunteering for different groups of people. I get the impression that she used to help prepare food and help make food in a volunteer sort of basis. And I see her very involved in the community and quite social. I feel like she really shined in social situations as in her younger years. Does that make sense to anybody so far? Okay. Thanks, Carol. She wants to add that she would have, she always dressed quite nicely, but also quite simple. And you would remember her often wearing the same necklace and the same earrings, like almost every day. Like she kind of had her like things that she put on almost every day and would often wear the same thing. Does this make sense to anybody?
It does.
Carol and Karen understand that? Is that right? Okay. Karen, you can unmute yourself too.
I can take all except for mother.
Okay. And Carol, would you understand that as a mother or as somebody else, as your mother?
Yeah, as a mother.
She was really, I have to say, in her younger years, she was really high energy. She really was a doer. She was somebody that would do anything for anybody. She was very active. She had children and she was very involved in taking that position. Like she's making it sound like that was really important to her. Like she was not the type to say, oh, okay, they'll be fine, they're off somewhere, whatever. She really wanted the best for her children and took a very, very active role in raising them and making sure that they felt loved. Does that make sense to both of you or either of you? Carol, you understand that?
I do.
Okay. So Carol, I think I'll work with you. And sorry, everybody, I didn't. It's interesting when you have another medium that you're that you're working with. But anyways, we'll just go on with that since she must be here for a reason.
Support us all.
Absolutely. Carol, you would have memories of her taking you to a park to play as a young girl. Does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, when I was young.
I feel like there was somewhere there where you went quite regularly. And I feel like there is another sibling with you too, during these times. Does that make sense at all?
It does, yes.
Okay. And would you happen to remember that there would have been a slide at this park? That was your favorite thing
that's
to go.
Golden Nugget, yes, a big one, really big.
It's just really showing me this you sliding down and like going back up again, and this was what you wanted to do. I get this feeling of she's the kind of person that I think you would understand that loved to laughed quite easily. I feel like, she had hard times. She had things in her life that were difficult and hard things, but I want to say she went out of her way to make sure that you and your family, or, you know, your siblings, were kind of protected from that, from other things that she was going through, which I won't get into, but does that make sense? Like this idea of just being present with you and making sure you're protected from anything else that's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I do understand why.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's making me aware of, this is how I feel. Like she could feel lonely. She could feel lonely at times. I feel as though she was married. But I feel like, I will say, it feels like this would be your father, but that your father wasn't always present. Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely correct.
So the impression that I get here is that she just made the best of it. She was like, that's okay. I'm going to make the best of that. If that makes sense at all.
It does, Bree. You're spot on.
Okay. She's just talking to me, and she's bringing in this feeling of friends and family that she had. She was just really loved by, I feel like there's this whole group of she has a lot women, I'm mostly feeling, but I think you would know that she would have friends and family that adored her, that just really, really adored her.
And you were spot on about especially some women. Yes.
Yeah. I feel this sort of tight group she has. And it seems really meaningful to her. I mean, I'm going back quite a few years, but I feel like she had these friends in her life that were with her when you were younger, that she was still friends with when she passed. Does that make sense at all to you?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you're very accurate.
And she just wants to, so, you know, I will go on to another one, but she's here really to say, sending her love and saying hello. And I feel like she wants to just bring out, you know, remind us of the special bond that she had with her friends and the importance. It's like I feel like she's just telling, it's a message for all of us, this about connection and keeping connection with your friends, and how dear it is when you have friends that are with you for decades, really, and making sure that we stay in touch with people. So it's a message for you and a message for all of us. So
that is a pertinent message.
Lovely.
But that's very much her, Bree, very much. So you did great.
All right.
For my mom, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
David, do I have a few more minutes to do another one?
Yes, sure, if you feel it.
I'll try to make this quick. All right. I'm aware of an older gentleman, very very intelligent man. You would know that he had sort of his routine every day. He read the newspaper in the morning. You would know that he would often, this is in his older age, read books, and throughout the day, and in the evening also, you know, he would be known to read books too. Watch the news. He's showing me watching the news or watching a documentary on TV, and then maybe ending his evening with a book or something like that. That would be that sort of regular thing. I feel like he, this feels like father to someone's father to me. And I feel like he was the kind of person that would not express his love so much by saying, I love you, although he might have as he got very older, but this is more of a man that would, get into conversations with you. He wants to talk about politics and the economy and the world and what's going on in current events. And he's that kind of person. Does anybody understand this so far? Okay. Eileen, do I have your name right there? Okay, great. All right, I'll give you a bit more information and make sure that makes sense. I believe that there is, it feels like there's an air of responsibility around him. I feel like he made sure to take care of the family financially. Like, I feel like that was the main role he played, but I also feel like there's this feeling of responsibility around making sure his children grow up to be responsible citizens. Like, I want my kids to be smart and to like know how to like give back to the community and how to, I feel like there's a business mind in there too. Does that make sense at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, completely.
And I feel like there's this real shared sense of books and reading that you have. Like, it's this commonality. I feel like he's just showing me that you're like extremely intelligent like him, and you pick up things quickly, but you're always learning. And I don't mean just reading, but you're very much open to the world and what's happening, and you kind of absorb it all. And it's just very fascinating for you. So you have this huge breadth of knowledge, kind of similar to him. I want to say yours is even more so, being open to wide knowledge, current events, but also deeper philosophical ideologies. Does that make sense to you at all?
Total sense. Yes.
He wants to talk about business too. I feel like he had a really strong business mind, and I feel like you actually do too. Does that make sense at all to you?
Yes.
There's an understanding that he had about reading people. He never would have articulated it necessarily like that, but he understood the motivations behind people and their actions, and he could help. He could manage and run and oversee things by this knowledge of understanding people, along with his business and his financial understanding. But you have that shared commonality with him too. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I won't take up too much time. He's really someone you like. I would just love to sit down and have tea with him, honestly, or coffee. Like, he's that kind of person. He could be, very direct with his words. And so I don't want to paint this picture of him, always just being easy to talk to, because there could be a directness and there could be a sharpness, and there was that side of his personality too.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's this really fascinating side of him. So, he wants to say hello. I know he wasn't one to say, I love you, but he this is his way coming through of showing you his love and how proud. That's what he's saying. Talking about how proud he is of you. You have mixed, this is sort of coming from him. You've mixed this intelligence and this drive with caring and compassion and love in your life. And it's a beautiful way to live, by understanding how all of this works together rather than just being so single-minded, which he could tend to be sometimes. So that's what he wants to leave you with. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Amazing. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bree, that was wonderful, your connections. I'm sure it meant a lot to the recipients. So awesome readings. So I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator, David Michael Ziska. And amazing moderator. He pulls it all together for us. So David grew up in Woodstock, New York, surrounded by nature. And his playground was the forest around the family home in the Catskill Mountains. He started his formal studies at age 15 with Reiki instruction from a master in Woodstock. Since then, David has expanded his studies to include scrying and mediumship, and he's an awesome medium. And so I'm going to give it over to David to connect with spirit for some of you.
Oh my God. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Raising those vibrations, everybody. So as I'm blending here, a woman steps forward, and you would recognize her as a woman that really would enjoy the outdoors, a woman that would really enjoy gardening. Specifically, you remember the fruits and the vegetables that she would grow. You remember being a little child walking by her side through the gardens. And I see, and I know that she explained to you what each vegetable was, what each fruit was, okay? And I see you looking up to her. You would remember her having a large hat or some sort of hat that she would wear outside, some sort of sun protection hat. And this is something that she would always do when she was outside in the garden with you, okay? And she is also a woman that would really take pride in these. She would harvest these vegetables or fruits. I see a lot of jars. You would know that she would preserve these vegetables or make jams out of her harvest, okay? And you were there to help with this process. Does this woman sound familiar to anyone? If so, please unmute yourself.
David, looks like Kim is sort of waving her hand. Let me see who else. Anybody else? And Karen McCarthy, anybody else?
Okay. Now go on. You would recognize that this location be more of a country type setting, okay? I see a lot of greenery around the house. I see that, you know, it's not in a city type setting or suburban setting, okay? I also feel that, you know, this is a woman that, you know, she really took care of her family, okay? Despite the fact that, you know, through her later years, she was alone, okay? But she really did take pride in her grandchildren. So this would be your grandmother. Does this clarify the information for anyone?
Looks like Kim is still raising her hand.
Kim? Can you unmute yourself, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So this woman, obviously very caring, very loving towards you, and taking pride in everything that she does. Okay. You would understand that her husband passed well before she did. Is that correct?
Yes.
And despite this being, you would know this to be a devastating event for her. Despite that, she still did everything that she could for her family. And you would still recognize that, you know, despite her efforts, that you would still feel that sorrow behind her eyes.
I can understand that.
Apologies. And as I'm seeing the scene unfold in the house, I see you would recognize a family setting with grandkids, with her daughter, I believe, at a table. She's preparing the meal. She's doing what she can to prepare the meal, okay? In the most loving way possible. And I see it as a quaint setting, wooden table. you would understand that you would often go to her house to have these special meals or these Thanksgivings, or kind of to visit to give her company. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I feel that, towards, as the years progressed, there was a lot of concern about that she would be alone in this location that was removed from other people, okay? So there was concern in the family about that situation. But she gives me the impression, and she's telling me that you would know that she didn't want to leave her home. She didn't want to leave what she had built throughout her entire life.
Yes, I can understand that.
That, not only was it her passion, it was her joy, it was her life, it was where she built the family, it's where all of her memories were. And you would understand that.
Yes.
She's coming through emotionally to me now, and she's almost like crying with joy of, of all these memories flashing before, all these good times that you've had there that you would recognize.
Yes.
The soft summer breezes, and now I see you as a child, like smelling. You're holding, like, I believe you're holding a fruit or a tomato. That it's very organic. It's full of love. It's a. You would recognize this as a timeless moment.
Yes.
And she wants to make sure that, getting the feeling that she wants to clarify and she wants to express to you that not to feel guilty. You would understand that, some of the family may have felt guilty towards the end to what had happened. Okay. To only remember the good times. She wants to express to you, and you would understand this, that she would want to be remembered as that person in the garden.
Yes.
As that person with you harvesting or canning those vegetables or preserves. She would want you to remember those times that you've had together. That smile. I see you smiling as you look up at her. Would you remember that?
Yes.
And I'm also feeling an incredible sense of pride that she's expressing to the person that you've become. Would you understand that she'd be very proud of what you've done in your life?
Yes.
I hear her saying now that that's my girl. And as I say that, I see her reaching out to you and just giving you a really, really tight hug and expressing her love and gratitude for everything that you've also done for her. And you would recognize that as well.
Yes.
And she would like to say, thank you for being there. Thank you for the best years of my life. And she would encourage you to keep doing what it is you're doing. She's ultimately very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank her.
Now I will thank her, and I will turn it back to Carol.
Thank you, David.
Thank
Well,
you.
David, that was so heartfelt. I could feel her as you brought her through. That was amazing.
Beautiful.
And nice that Kim knew who this was and connected. So perfect. Thank you. So I have the pleasure of introducing Chelsea Starr. And I do have to say, before I do her little bio here, is that she's the one responsible for the colorful picture with our little headshots in it. So she's amazing at that kind of work. So thank you for doing that, Chelsea. So Chelsea Starr is an accomplished performer, singer, songwriter, and actor. Chelsea has worked for many years in television and radio as a commercial voiceover artist, writer, and spokesperson. As a child, Chelsea was described as having her head in the clouds as she spoke with angels. A lot of us do that, Chelsea. Chelsea has spent the past few years focusing on improving her connection with spirit by relearning to have her head in the clouds and link with the source energy to connect with those who have passed. So Chelsea is up next and going to bring through at least one or two links for contacts for somebody in our group here. So
Well,
here you go,
thank you
Chelsea.
very much, Carol. And we've all been sitting a little bit, so I would like to take a moment to raise the energy in the room. If we could all just take a one really big, deep breath together and let it out and just all really feel reconnected with that wonderful energy that's out there. Every time I get a chance to speak with Source, and well, we can do it all the time, but when I get to share it with others, it's such a fantastic opportunity. I feel so grateful. My heart just feels like it wells up, and I want so much to be able to share that love that is out there with everybody that's around us. And I'm so grateful that we all could be here today. And I want to just take a moment to open the door and blend with spirit and see who would like to come into the space and really share their energy with us today. There is a little boy that's come through. I must admit, he has been here for a little bit and he has been very patiently waiting. I've asked him to wait, and he has come in, and he's coming in and he's sitting on my lap. This young boy loved to play with his toys, his cars, or rolling things that would be around people's feet, and you could just hear him go, make all the little noises. And his hair was so shiny. He had like his hair I would describe as the color of wheat in the sun. But the shiny part of the shaft, so you would see the shine on his hair. And it was quite a stunning feature from this young man. He is presenting himself to me at about younger than 8, but he was somebody that didn't speak very well. He wasn't somebody that would necessarily play with his contemporaries, as he was often in his own brain, his own head. It was like there was an entire world in his mind, and he was very content and very happy to be in that world and to be around the people that he cared about. Is there anybody out there that can take this wonderful, energetic young man? Okay, we will go through and see what else he has to share with us. This young man, I see him a little bit later in his life, losing the energy that he had, almost as if when he was, I'm feeling stress in his heart, as if when he was born, he didn't have a very strong heart. And it's making me feel like, although he had a lot of energy, it was difficult for him to run and jump and play with friends. And so he ended up staying inside a lot more. Does this resonate with anyone?
This is
Yes?
Amy. I can take all of that except for the age, but everything else you're saying makes sense.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amy. May I work with you?
Yes.
All right. This young boy was just a beautiful young man.
Yes.
He had a very difficult time communicating with others, but that didn't bother him. He never seemed to be frustrated that he couldn't get information through. It was almost as if he was a much older person living in this very, very young body. And you'd look into his eyes and you'd see like a 50-year-old scientist, but he was really quite, I mean, you could tell that he was a child, but he just had this very old soul that just would shone through his eyes, and you would understand this.
This is what I'm told. Yes.
Okay, thank you. He loved life, but I'm getting the impression from him that he had an idea in his head that he was never here for a very long time. And it was almost as if this was a stepping stone towards another place that he was going, another experience that he was waiting to have. Almost as if this was a waiting room for a place that he was going next. You would understand that?
It makes sense. Yes.
Okay. Very loving and affectionate, this young boy. He would come and sit on people's laps and would almost melt into the person that he was sitting on. And I felt like he got like this, especially later in his life, when his energy started to drain, almost as if the water going down a drain of a bathtub. But his life force was still there, but you could tell that it was much diminished by the health issues that he was facing. You would understand that.
Yes, that's true.
He he very much enjoyed his family, and he would like sitting on his mother's lap and putting his fingers over her mouth because he couldn't communicate with her. And so when she would talk to him, he would go shh like that. And you would understand that. Touching his mother's face, touching his mother's mouth.
He could communicate with her a bit, but I understand this, that you're doing with your finger.
All right, thank you.
Mm.
He has such a beautiful soul.
Yes.
His presence would change the space of a room.
Mm-hmm.
His mission, he knew when he came, was not just to be a child and to grow into an adult and to live his life. It's difficult to express, but his reason for being here was not just for him to grow and explore his life. It was to teach the lesson to his family about love and loss, and how difficult that was, but also how rewarding it was to have him in their life for such a short time. And you would understand this.
Yes.
He never wanted to hurt his family by leaving, but in his mind, it was not as if it was a sacrifice. He just knew that's where he had to go. And so he sort of went almost not even asking questions, just sort of happily. That's just sort of how it was. And that's what I needed to do. And then I moved on. I see him with almost a puppy-like energy. And I say this because puppies are so in the moment. They're so in the actual time that they're living. They don't think about the future or the past. They're just so right there. And when he was there, and when he was there with other people, he would look in their face and they were forced to stop everything that they were doing to really refocus on him and the moments that they spent together. And that time was just invaluable for his family. And you would understand this.
Yes.
I see him as connected to you, but not necessarily of your family, but of a very close relation. And he's still spoken about.
Yes.
He laughs because there's like, I see a little wooden car that is in a room, especially where his mother looks at it, and she's always thinking of him. And sometimes it makes her sad, but he doesn't want it to make her sad because he just wants to be remembered, and for her to know that that's why he came, is to teach her. And she knows that in a way, but doesn't always remember that. And you would understand that.
Yes.
This little car, he likes to have his finger on it, and it might move a little bit on the shelf where it's at, or the desk where it's at, sometimes, just because he does that. He enjoys doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Okay. Well, if she's noticing that, that is him doing it, and he wants to know, that's letting her know that he's there, and that he wants to always let her know how much he loves her, how much he's still on her lap, giving her that hug and holding her face in his hands. And he'll always be her little boy, but he's gone on to better things and doing more important things. His time here was short, he knew that, and now he's moved on to helping other people, and that is what's really fulfilling for him. He has grown into that more, his mission has changed, and he's happy with that. He's sort of pulling back, and he wants you to share his love with her. And I want to just take one more minute. There's a woman that's come in. They always like to stand in front of me, which I think is interesting. She is lovely, young, always looked younger than her age, thin, darker hair, at shoulder length, with a red dress. Red was sort of her power color. She's younger. She looked taller than she was, and she always felt like she was much taller than she was, which was a bit irrational, because she wasn't very tall, but because she was thin, and she thought of herself as a taller person than she was. She is happy, but also somebody that was very thoughtful and would stand back in the distance and watch people with a almost an observer more than a participant in people's lives. Not because she couldn't be, but because she just enjoyed watching people. Can anyone take this lovely woman?
I don't know who she is, but
all right. That's absolutely fine. It may not be with you, Amy. It may be with somebody else. So I open it up to whoever is there. If you can take it, please raise your hand or unmute yourself. Let me merge and blend a little, Tara, a little bit. Thank you. Let me blend a little bit more with this lovely woman. She's very connected to flowers. She enjoyed wearing prints of flowers, and she also enjoyed, I see her making her own clothes. She was perhaps of an era where she would sew aprons. Aprons were very popular to her, very something that she took great pride in, and she would always make sure that they matched what she was wearing when she was in the kitchen. Can anyone take this? Tara, is that you? Are you saying yes?
Yes, I can
Okay,
take
thank
most
you.
of it.
Amy, I may be with Tara, so I thank you for your participation. And if there sounds like anyone else, please let me know. This woman, she was a spitfire, very, very strong. Like this woman was almost like a steel beam that people would depend on for guidance, for moral support, for different things. And she would always give it. And she always seemed to have more strength than this small form of hers would present. She was this great energy and this great strength in this very small package. You would understand that.
Maybe I can understand part of it. Yes.
Okay. She was a woman that was not so much about books, but about life lessons. This is a woman who would teach you by example. And if you wanted to learn, or if she wanted you to learn a lesson, she would put you in a situation where you would learn it, whether you liked it or not. And usually the situation was uncomfortable, but it made you learn the lesson better. You would understand this.
Yeah, maybe, definitely. Maybe.
She did it out of love, although sometimes it didn't always feel like love. And the words she would say would be few and far between, but when she did say them, they were very poignant and very important. And there was a direct message. She did not mince words, and she did not use unnecessary words or energy when she spoke. You would understand this.
Yes.
She was a woman that, even though she did many domestic things, she did not necessarily enjoy them. She would work in the kitchen, but she did not enjoy it. She would, and she was not bad at what she did. She was very good. I think she was a person that wanted very much to be other things. She wanted a more impressive career. She would have been much more comfortable doing working in a business career or some sort of study that had archaeology. She was interested in archaeology. She wanted to learn more about things, but not necessarily through books, through experiences. And so she would have enjoyed going and digging in the dirt and really learning about the world that way. You would understand this.
Yes, I can understand some of that. Yes.
And she was, she makes me feel as if she was your aunt.
That is correct.
She was never great with children, but she made a very big impression on children. And I don't mean great as in she was great when she was fine when she took care of them, but she never saw herself in a big maternal role, almost as if she didn't see herself in the domestic role. She did it because that was what was set for her to do, but she would have been happier doing other things.
Yes.
You would understand this.
Yes.
And she is very strong, and she took pride in her appearance. And she's showing me as she got older, her hair started to get the streaks of silver gray in it. And it was not a badge of I'm getting older. It was a badge of look how long I've lasted and look how much I've learned. And every one of you have caused one of these silver hairs in my head, and you know it, and you're not ever going to forget it because I won't let you. You would understand that.
Yes.
Okay. And she would say things in very poignant, powerful fashion, but deep down inside, her heart was so soft and so kind. And when she saw all of the children that she would spend time with, she did not have children of her own, is what she's letting me know. You would understand that?
No,
she did
not
have
that.
children? Okay. Then I'm misinterpreting that. She was a mother, but a mother unlike other mothers. And I don't understand quite what she means by that, but she would look at the world through different eyes, through almost a more masculine lens. Although she was very feminine in how she looked at things more as a man and more as someone who would be very strong in her opinions. And that was frightening to a lot of people. And she was not going to ever apologize for who she was and what she had become. And she was very happy with that personage. And she wanted to instill in everybody that was around her that it doesn't matter if you don't like what I have to say, you don't have to talk to me. But if you listen to what I say, you'll learn something important from it. She wants you to know that she is happy with what you've done. And she wanted to just pop in and say hello, and she's pulling her energy back. So I'm going to take a moment to tell her thank you, and tell that young man thank you, and also to tell both Amy and Tara thank you for being a participant in that. And then I will turn it back over to Carol.
Chelsea, she had a lot of kids. Maybe she felt like she had too many, so she went to 0. I don't know, but she had a lot of children.
I thank you for letting me know that. I was confused by it because she feels like she wasn't quite attached to the kids, but she was attached to the kid, almost like it was a job instead of a mother.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Okay, thank you. That's why. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, this is Amy. Sorry to interrupt, but I just have to tell you how wonderful that was, because that was not that was not an easy contact. So if I'll just tell you, do I have time to tell you really briefly? I
You-
won't go on forever.
Please.
This is my nephew, and I didn't live in the same state at the time he was born because my sister is like 11 years older than myself. But he did have heart problems, and he'd been through multiple surgeries. This was back in 1982 when he passed. So since then, all these surgeries have, progressed and become, much more improved. So children that have this same disorder would live. But he did have that kind of silvery, whitish, beautiful blonde hair. And he didn't have the energy. He lived to be like a year old. He didn't have the energy to be like other children and do things, but he was incredibly smart. And he would use his finger. I even have a picture of him doing something with his finger, and he would be in the hospital in the wagon. He would stop people and point, and his eyes were these huge, big blue eyes, and the people would just like melt when they were around this child. And when he passed, where you had said that his mission was, to help others. Well, they had this massive insurance policy that there's just was unheard of at the time. And they were a young couple, but they took this money and turned it all back over to Children's Hospital, where they had done, so they could put all the money back into for the surgeons to study the cardiac disorders and to help other children. So that was phenomenal. I was really impressed, because people have touched on him when they've brought him through, but have never brought him through like that. So I want to thank you for that. I'll pass it on to my sister, because the anniversary of his passing was 2 days ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to him. Wow.
And thank you, Chelsea, for those beautiful, inspiring readings. At this moment in our event, I'm going to turn it over to Carol for our closing prayer and then a closing video.
Thank you, David. And yes, Chelsea, amazing readings. You really feel it in the heart here. So I invite you all, as we close our event, to join me in a closing prayer of gratitude. And you may, however you like to engage yourself during a prayer and intention of gratitude. So as we close the spiritual service of mediumship, our hearts are infused with the radiant blessings of God, Great Spirit, and the spirit world. We thank each and every contact who came through from the spirit world. We were hopefully all of you, even if you didn't receive a direct message, we all felt inspired by that evidence we received today from the spirit people, that there is life that continues after death, and that there is communication with us and support for us all from the spirit world. We also give thanks to our angels, our guides and influencers, spirit helpers. So may the light and grace of Great Spirit touch the hearts of all who are here today, all who supported us in this event. And may the grace of Great Spirit touch the hearts of those who are hurting, of those who are grieving from the loss of a loved one. It is our desire and intention that today's service has opened a portal of love and light in each of our hearts, and that our hearts may lead us all to radiate the light and love, the power of Great Spirit into not only our own lives, our families, but out into the world. That this world may continue to be a world of beauty, a world where peace can become the norm, a world where we live in harmony with each other and with the forces of nature. So now we close the four directions, the winds of each direction, the south, the west, the north, the east. We thank Mother Earth for supporting us in our physical form here as humans. And we thank Great Spirit. And we thank that connection with all of the elements, the fire of the sun and the stars, the water that nourishes us, the wind that blows through the trees, and the earth, which grows trees and flowers and food for all of us. We thank all the elements. We thank each other as we gather in this space today. And may we all walk in beauty together, like the aspen trees that Chelsea talked about, how they are so connected. We are also connected as one. So again, may we all walk together in beauty. So aho, and so it is. Amen. And have a beautiful day. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this special event. It's been truly an honor. Then we have a short closing video for you. And I wish everyone to have a beautiful, wonderful week. And may you be inspired by the readings this evening. There we are. Well, my apologies, everyone. Apparently it's unsupported file format, but thank you so much for joining us this evening or this afternoon or this morning, and have a wonderful, beautiful day, everyone. God bless. Well, that was great. Muted.
Thanks, guys. It was fun. I'm glad we did it.
I'm not sure what happened with the file at the end. It just said unsupported, but it's the same format as the other one. So.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Oh, we got all kinds of great comments in the chat. I removed that last person who didn't leave, so we just be the four of us.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, you guys were all amazing. It just went so well.
That was really